Hey everyone, I'm back with another quick review on a really cool fragrance from one of my favorite houses, and it is White from Comme de Garçons. This came out in 1998 and it was created by Mark Buxton, who was the same perfumer who did their original fragrance, which was just called Comme de Garçons at the time, but we now refer to it as the original. I did want to give that a quick mention because I do see the two as being, similar, kind of like sisters in a way. You could probably argue that this was almost like a flanker or an offshoot of the original Comme de Garçons fragrance. But I will, or if anyone's interested, I might do a review on the original Comme de Garçons one. Just let me know in the comments below. But just real quick, to quickly compare the two, I kind of see White as being the more approachable sister. The original one can be quite abrasive and aggressive, almost non-consensual. That one has a lot more hot kind of notes to it. This seems a little bit cooler in a way, but despite it being cooler, it's more approachable than the other one, which I think is a very interesting juxtaposition. But yeah, today we're focusing on White though, which is my scent of the day. So White has two type of ingredients or type of notes that I love in fragrances, one being spices and the other being frankincense. I'll get back to the incense in a bit because I think that is an overlooked part of this fragrance, but I also feel that it is an important part of the development of the fragrance itself. But the spices, it can be quite overwhelming. You get an overload of cinnamon and clove and cardamom. I mostly get cardamom and cinnamon, a lot of it, so much so that this has kind of turned into a reference fragrance for me for cinnamon type of scents. There's so much of it that it kind of gives me this feeling of running full speed and smacking your face onto a concrete wall made of spices. There's so much, so you really have to enjoy that type of note to appreciate this fragrance. It does calm down a little bit in terms of the amount of spiciness that I get from it later on, but it can be quite shocking, kind of like biting into an unexpected cardamom pod or getting a lot of cinnamon and when you didn't expect it in a meal. But there's also quite a bit of floral notes in this. I believe there is lily of the valley and rose. I get a little bit of those two type of notes. I wouldn't say that this is a great example of those two floral notes, but there is something quite nice about smelling the mixture of the floral notes and the spiciness in the beginning. There's also something called tagette, and I have no idea what that is. Never smelled it in my life. Never even seen it in my life. But yeah, there's definitely floral notes that are in this. Something I do want to say about Comme de Garçons as a whole is that I feel like reading the notes off of Fraganica, especially on that site, which can be highly inaccurate, it does not give a full picture of what you experience when you wear the fragrance. And this is a great example of that. There's more that you get out of it just from wearing it, and it just doesn't help to know what the notes are in this fragrance. But the thing that stands out from this is the chalkiness. There's like an overall chalky feeling that I get from this, almost like you clap the erasers off of the chalkboard, those old school chalkboards, and it kind of creates a cloud of the chalk. There's something about this fragrance that gives me that feeling, as well as this feeling of concrete. I know they have a fragrance called Concrete, but this kind of gives that same feeling. And yeah, that's just something, those two things, the chalkiness and the concrete, is just something that isn't listed as a note or an accord if you read through the list. But it's, kind of cool experiencing all of that just from the interplay of the notes in this. But getting back to the frankincense, that's my favorite part of this whole development. The frankincense in this isn't something that people often bring up, but I do get it. And if you know this house, they make incense really, really well. They have a whole incense line. There are also other fragrances outside of that line that make standout incense type of smells. The frankincense in this kind of peeks through as if there's still that cloud of dustiness and chalkiness, and then there's that itty bitty line of incense smoke just peeking through. And it is such a pleasant surprise when it comes out. You don't always smell it though in the beginning. Like sometimes I'll get it within 15 minutes. Other days I might get it like after an hour. It's kind of inconsistent as to when I get that hint of the incense smoke, but when it comes in, it is such a stunning part of the development. Yeah, like I said, it's my favorite part of this whole development. It doesn't give the same type of religious feeling as I would get from Passage d'Enfer, but there is something calming about the incense. It kind of brings that feeling of calm after the whole chaos that you experience from all the spices at the beginning. And it's like a really welcome surprise to me. Yeah, so I mentioned Passage d'Enfer. There's something very similar between the two, and I think it's because Passage d'Enfer is an incense and floral fragrance. The mixture of the lily and the incense is kind of similar to how there is the floral notes in this that mix in with the incense smoke as well, but they're still very different fragrances. I don't see this as a very Catholic smelling type of fragrance. This is more of a casual fragrance for me. I love wearing this when I'm just wearing sneakers and a pair of jeans and a t-shirt on a weekend, especially in the autumn time and winter time. Passage d'Enfer is something I would wear year round. For some reason, I find it appropriate for, you know, all the seasons. But they do give very different feelings. I was thinking about getting Passage d'Enfer, but this is fulfilling my craving for that fragrance for now. And I think it's because of the incense that's in this. But yeah, that's basically what I think about white. I think it's a fantastic fragrance. Not widely distributed. I think this is somewhat hard to find, although it's still in production. But let me know if you have tried this. I'll talk a little bit about performance. I feel like Comme des Garçons fragrances generally perform quite well on me. This lasts the whole day on me. I don't really have to respritz. If I were to respritz it, it's really just to get that blast of spiciness. I think I do have a pretty high tolerance for spiciness, especially cardamom and cinnamon. But I don't always feel the need to do that. And I think it's because I'm waiting for that incense to just come out. And in terms of projection, I don't think it's like a beast mode type of fragrance, but people can smell this on me, I think. My husband has commented on this a few times and he does like it, fortunately, though he is a fan of this house and how they make the incense. This might be a little bit out there for some folks. I wouldn't wear this to work. I think it's a little bit too experimental for work and people wouldn't appreciate it. But you know, it's a fragrance I would wear for myself for sure. So yeah, that's white. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you next time. Bye bye.